Are you certain that kindness has ever protected anyone when power was truly at stake? Or have you simply been taught to believe that being nice is the safest way to survive? From the moment you step into any position of leadership, whether you call it management, influence, authority, or destiny, you enter a silent arena governed by rules older than morality and colder than empathy. These rules are never written down, never taught openly, and rarely admitted by those who benefit from them most. Yet they operate relentlessly beneath every handshake, every smile, every promise made in daylight. Niceness in this arena is not a virtue, it is a signal. It tells others exactly how far they can push you before you break. It tells them you fear being disliked more than you fear losing power. It tells them you will choose harmony over survival, approval over control, comfort over dominance. And in a world structured around human ambition, that signal is fatal. Machiavelli understood something that modern leadership culture desperately tries to bury beneath slogans and motivational posters. He understood that humans do not follow goodness, they follow strength. They do not respect kindness, they respect consequences. They do not obey morality, they obey power. When you attempt to lead through niceness, you are attempting to reverse the natural flow of human psychology. You are asking people to suppress their instincts, their opportunism, their hunger for advantage, and to instead act out of gratitude and goodwill. This works only as long as nothing meaningful is at stake. The moment resources shrink, pressure rises, or conflict emerges, niceness collapses like a paper wall in a storm. The nice leader believes that fairness will be rewarded, that transparency will be respected, that generosity will inspire loyalty. These beliefs are comforting because they absolve the leader from making hard decisions. They allow the leader to feel morally superior while avoiding the discomfort of control. But power does not respond to intention, it responds to perception. And perception is shaped not by what you mean, but by what you enforce. A leader who is nice, but incapable of punishment, teaches their followers a dangerous lesson. Disobedience is safe. Every group, every organization, every society tests its leader. Not out of malice, but out of instinct. Humans probe boundaries the way water probes cracks. Where there is weakness, pressure accumulates. The nice leader, when tested, hesitates. They explain, they compromise. They forgive prematurely. They fear being seen as harsh, unfair, or authoritarian. And in that hesitation, authority evaporates because leadership is not granted by title, it is granted by the unspoken agreement that defiance carries cost. Machiavelli observed that rulers who relied on love alone were destroyed by the very people who once praised them. Love is conditional. It exists only while benefits flow freely and sacrifices are minimal. Fear, on the other hand, is stable. It does not require affection. It does not depend on mood. It survives resentment. This does not mean cruelty for its own sake. It means clarity. It means certainty. It means that everyone knows exactly what happens when lines are crossed. The nice leader blurs these lines in the name of compassion, and in doing so, invites chaos. Consider how people behave around leaders who cannot say no. Requests multiply. Boundaries dissolve. Entitlement grows quietly, then explosively. Soon the leader is no longer leading but negotiating their own authority on a daily basis. They are exhausted, confused, and secretly resentful, yet still unable to assert control because doing so would contradict the identity they have built. Niceness becomes a prison of self-image. They cannot be firm without feeling like a villain. And so they lose, not because they lacked intelligence or vision, but because they lacked the psychological armor required to command humans as they are, not as we wish them to be. Machiavelli never argued that leaders should be evil. He argued that leaders must be effective. Morality without power is decoration. Intentions without enforcement are fantasies. The nice leader confuses moral self-satisfaction with leadership competence. They believe that being good makes them deserving of loyalty. But loyalty is not granted. It is extracted through structure, incentives, and fear of loss. Humans are not loyal to virtue. They are loyal to stability, protection, and advantage. When a leader cannot provide these, niceness becomes irrelevant. There is also a darker truth that polite leadership culture avoids confronting. Many people do not want a nice leader. They want a decisive one. They want someone who absorbs uncertainty and projects certainty, even if that certainty is uncomfortable. They want someone who will act when action is costly, who will choose outcomes over feelings, who will bear the weight of being disliked so others do not have to. The nice leader offloads this burden onto the group, asking everyone to participate in endless consensus, endless discussion, endless emotional management. This creates fatigue, not empowerment, and fatigue breeds contempt. Power, as Machiavelli saw it, is not maintained by being liked, it is maintained by being necessary. When a leader is indispensable, feared enough to be respected, and respected enough to be followed, they can afford moments of generosity, but generosity without leverage is submission disguised as virtue. The nice leader gives before they have secured obedience, hoping kindness will be remembered. But humans remember consequences far more vividly than favors. Gratitude fades, memory erodes, but fear imprints itself deeply into behavior. In every hierarchy, there are those who seek to climb. The nice leader becomes their ladder. They exploit the leader's reluctance to confront, their desire to be seen as fair, their habit of giving second chances. Slowly, authority is hollowed out from within. Decisions are delayed, rules are bent, standards are negotiated. The leader still occupies the position, but no longer controls the direction. They are surrounded by smiles and agreement, yet privately undermined and openly disregarded. This is not betrayal. This is adaptation. Humans adapt to the environment you create. Machiavelli warned that appearing virtuous while lacking the capacity for severity is more dangerous than openly ruling through strength, because it creates false security. The nice leader believes they are loved until the moment they are removed. History is filled with rulers who trusted goodwill and were destroyed by it, not because people are inherently evil, but because power attracts ambition, and ambition does not respect softness, it consumes it. Modern leadership language tries to sanitize this reality. It speaks of empathy, vulnerability, servant leadership. These ideas are not inherently flawed, but they are incomplete. Without authority, empathy becomes weakness. Without consequences, vulnerability becomes exposure. Without dominance, service becomes subjugation. Machiavelli understood balance, but he understood sequence even more. Power must come before kindness. Control must precede compassion. Otherwise, compassion is interpreted not as strength, but as permission. The tragedy of the nice leader is that they often sense their decline, but misdiagnose its cause. They believe they need to be even nicer, even more understanding, even more accommodating. They double down on the very behavior that is eroding their power. They hold more meetings, ask for more feedback, apologize more frequently. Each apology, each concession, teaches the group that pressure works. And once pressure works, it never stops. Leadership is not about being morally pure. It is about shaping behavior at scale. It is about understanding that humans are driven by fear of loss more than hope of gain. Machiavelli did not celebrate this truth. He acknowledged it. The nice leader denies it, and denial is the most expensive mistake a leader can make, because reality does not punish you for being immoral. It punishes you for being unrealistic. When people say nice leaders always lose, they are not condemning kindness. They are condemning naivety. They are pointing to a recurring pattern where leaders who prioritize being liked over being obeyed slowly surrender their authority until it is taken from them. Loss does not always arrive violently. Sometimes it arrives politely, through restructuring, votes, silent disengagement, or smiling replacements. The nice leader rarely sees it coming because they mistake politeness for loyalty and agreement for respect. Machiavelli would tell you that leadership requires a willingness to stand alone in judgment, to act without applause, to endure being misunderstood. The nice leader craves affirmation. They seek constant reassurance that they are doing the right thing. But power is lonely by nature. It demands internal certainty, not external validation. Those who cannot tolerate that loneliness attempt to dissolve it through niceness. And in doing so, they dissolve themselves. This is the first forbidden lesson. Niceness is not neutral. It is a strategy. And like LL strategies, it has consequences. When deployed without power, it signals weakness. When used selectively by a strong leader, it signals control. The difference is not in the behavior, but in the leverage behind it. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of virtue must be backed by the capacity for force. Otherwise, virtue becomes an invitation to be overrun. If you have ever watched a leader slowly lose influence while insisting on being fair, kind, and understanding, you have seen Machiavelli's warning unfold in real time. Authority erodes quietly before it collapses publicly. Respect fades long before rebellion appears. And by the time the nice leader realizes that love is gone, fear has already transferred to someone else. This is not a condemnation of goodness. It is a confrontation with reality. Leadership is not about what you wish humans were. It is about what they are when stakes are real. And until this truth is faced without illusion, nice leaders will continue to lose, not because they are wrong to value kindness, but because they are wrong to believe it can replace power. Power does not announce its departure. It withdraws quietly, almost politely, leaving behind the illusion that nothing has changed until suddenly everything has. This is where the nice leader usually finds themselves, standing in the ruins of authority they did not realize was eroding, still speaking the language of cooperation while no one is truly listening anymore. Machiavelli would recognize this moment immediately. He would see it not as bad luck, not as betrayal, not as a failure of values, but as the inevitable consequence of misunderstanding human nature at its core. Humans are not guided by ideals when pressure rises. They are guided by incentives, fears, and the calculation of advantage. This is not cynicism, it is observation. The nice leader refuses to accept this view because it threatens their identity. They want to believe that people reciprocate fairness, that loyalty emerges naturally from goodwill, that moral consistency inspires obedience. But what it actually inspires is evaluation. People assess how far they can go, what they can extract, how much they can delay, bend, or resist without consequence. Niceness becomes data. It is studied, measured, exploited. Machiavelli understood that authority must live in the subconscious of those being led. It must be felt even when the leader is absent. Fear achieves this. Not terror, not cruelty, but the quiet understanding that disobedience has consequences and that those consequences are inevitable, not negotiable. The nice leader, by contrast, makes everything negotiable. Every rule has an exception. Every decision can be revisited. Every boundary can be discussed. This endless openness creates ambiguity, and ambiguity is the enemy of power. When ambiguity exists, informal leaders emerge. Stronger personalities fill the vacuum. Those with less restraint, less concern for being liked, begin to shape outcomes behind the scenes. They frame narratives, influence peers, and slowly reposition the nice leader as symbolic rather than authoritative. The nice leader still speaks, but others decide, still presides, but others act. Shift is subtle and rarely hostile. It feels cooperative. It feels organic. That is why it is so dangerous. Niceness, when it becomes a defining trait rather than a tactical choice, removes the leader's ability to surprise. Everyone knows how they will respond. They will listen. They will empathize. They will seek compromise. Predictability may feel virtuous, but in power dynamics, predictability is vulnerability. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must be able to act against expectation when survival demands it. The nice leader cannot. Their self-image binds them. They are trapped by the persona they cultivated. There is a moment in every leadership role when a hard decision must be made that will upset someone powerful, someone vocal, someone influential. The nice leader delays this moment as long as possible. They search for a solution where no one loses face. They hope time will dissolve the problem. But time does not dissolve power struggles. It sharpens them. Every delay signals uncertainty. Every hesitation invites escalation. The problem grows teeth. Machiavelli would say that cruelty, if used, must be decisive and limited, while kindness must be continuous but controlled. The nice leader reverses this. They are continuously lenient and occasionally attempt firmness, usually too late. Their rare acts of discipline feel shocking, inconsistent, even unfair because they were not established early. People do not experience them as authority, they experience them as emotional outbursts. This further erodes respect. Respect is not born from affection, it is born from clarity. When people know where they stand, when rules are firm, when enforcement is predictable, they may not love the leader, but they orient themselves around them. The nice leader replaces clarity with warmth. Warmth feels good, but it does not anchor behavior under stress. When conflict arises, warmth evaporates. What remains is structure or the lack of it. Modern culture often praises leaders who are approachable, relatable, humble. These traits are not weaknesses in themselves. They become weaknesses when they are unaccompanied by distance. Machiavelli understood the importance of distance, not isolation but separation. The leader must not collapse fully into the group. The moment the leader becomes just another member seeking approval, authority dissolves. The nice leader seeks belonging instead of command. They want to be part of the group than above the structure. And groups do not obey equals. They negotiate with them. There is also a psychological trap hidden inside niceness, moral licensing. The nice leader believes that because their intentions are good, outcomes should be good as well. When outcomes are not good, they feel confused and wronged. They double down on intention rather than adjusting strategy. Machiavelli would find this almost tragic. Intention has no power in politics, leadership, or survival. Only results do. History does not remember those who meant well. It remembers those who prevailed. People often misunderstand Machiavelli as advocating heartlessness. This is a shallow reading. What he actually demanded was emotional discipline, the ability to suppress the need to be liked, the need to be seen as good, the need to be morally applauded. These needs are weaknesses because they externalize the leader's sense of worth. The nice leader depends on constant social feedback to feel legitimate. Remove that feedback and they collapse inward. In every organization, there comes a point where someone must be sacrificed for the system to survive. A rule must be enforced. A standard must be upheld publicly. The nice leader avoids this because it feels cruel. But by avoiding small, controlled acts of severity, they allow larger, uncontrolled damage to spread. Machiavelli believed that the ruler who avoids cruelty entirely ends up committing greater cruelties through negligence. Disorder harms many more people than decisive action ever could. Fear, when properly understood, is not about intimidation. It is about reliability. People fear what is consistent and unavoidable. The nice leader is inconsistent because their responses are filtered through emotion and social pressure. One person is forgiven, another is quietly resented, another is eventually punished without warning. This inconsistency creates anxiety, not loyalty. People begin to protect themselves rather than align with the leader. Another uncomfortable truth is that many people subconsciously want limits imposed on them. Boundaries relieve them of the burden of constant negotiation. Strong leadership provides psychological safety even when it is firm. The nice leader offers emotional safety but removes structural safety. Everything feels negotiable and therefore unstable. In unstable environments, people become defensive, political, self-interested. The very behavior the nice leader hoped to avoid emerges precisely because of their niceness. Machiavelli understood that appearances matter more than inner virtue. The leader must appear strong even when compassionate. The nice leader appears compassionate even when weak. This inversion changes how every action is interpreted. A concession from a strong leader is seen as generosity. The same concession from a weak leader is seen as surrender. Perception defines reality in power dynamics. There is also the issue of succession. Nice leaders rarely prepare others to replace them effectively because they fear creating rivals. They keep power diffuse to avoid conflict. Machiavelli would argue this guarantees instability. Strong systems require clear chains of command and controlled ambition. The nice leader allows ambition to grow unchecked under the guise of empowerment. Eventually, that ambition turns upward. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of niceness is that it feels moral. It feels clean. It allows the leader to sleep at night believing they are different from the tyrants of history. But Machiavelli would remind us that tyranny is not defined by firmness. It is defined by arbitrariness, by self-indulgence, by cruelty without purpose. Strength guided by reason is not tyranny. Weakness disguised as virtue is something far worse. Becker. Use it invites chaos and then claims innocence when chaos arrives. Every fallen nice leader shares a common narrative. They say they were blindsided. They say they trusted people. They say they believed in fairness. Machiavelli would say they believed in illusions. Trust without leverage is faith, not strategy. Fairness without enforcement is hope, not governance. Leadership is not a moral exercise, it is a psychological one. The moment you lead, you inherit responsibility for outcomes, not intentions. The nice leader tries to outsource this responsibility to the group through consensus and shared ownership. When failure occurs, no one feels accountable. Power fragments, authority dissolves. Machiavelli insisted that the ruler must be willing to bear blame alone, to be hated if necessary, to absorb resentment so the system can function. The nice leader distributes blame, and in doing so distributes power away from themselves. Human beings test leaders unconsciously. They break small rules to see what happens. They miss deadlines. They challenge decisions. They gossip. These are not acts of rebellion. They are diagnostic behaviors. They are attempts to map the power landscape. The nice leader responds with understanding. The Machiavellian leader responds with correction. Over time, the map becomes clear. In one environment, boundaries exist. In the other, they dissolve. What ultimately defeats the nice leader is not external enemies, but internal decay. Respect thins, compliance becomes performative, loyalty becomes conditional, and when a crisis arrives, as it always does, the group does not rally. They scatter, they look for stronger figures, they justify their abandonment by saying the leader was good but ineffective, kind but weak, moral but unfit. Machiavelli would not be surprised. He would say this is the predictable outcome of confusing goodness with strength. He would say that the leader who wants to be good at all times will be destroyed by those who are not because they are evil, but because they are realistic. This is the second forbidden lesson. Power must be established before it can be softened. Authority must precede empathy. Control must come before compassion. The nice leader reverses this order and pays the price. They lose not in dramatic coups, but in quiet irrelevance. They are remembered fondly and replaced quickly. And the cruel irony is this: the nice leader often does more harm than the feared one, because their weakness creates instability, conflict, and hidden aggression. Machiavelli believed that it is better to be feared than loved, not because fear is noble, but because fear is reliable. Love is fragile. Love breaks under pressure. Fear endures. If this sounds harsh, it is because reality is harsh. Leadership is not therapy. It is not friendship. It is not self-expression. It is the art of directing human behavior toward survival and success. Those who refuse to accept this truth do not elevate humanity. They expose it to disorder. And so the nice leader continues to lose, not because they are kind, but because they mistake kindness for power and morality for strategy and intention for outcome. Machiavelli saw through this illusion centuries ago. The world has not changed, only the language we use to deny it has. This is where the descent deepens, where the comforting myths fall away, and where the true cost of niceness begins to reveal itself, not as a personal failing, but as a strategic catastrophe waiting patiently for the moment when pressure finally arrives. By the time a nice leader senses that something is wrong, the damage is already internalized by the system. This is the stage Machiavelli would describe as irreversible without force, because perception has settled. Power, once psychologically withdrawn, does not return through explanation or goodwill. It returns only through decisive action that shocks the existing order. The tragedy is that nice leaders rarely possess the will to deliver that shock. They have spent too long convincing themselves and others that power should feel gentle. When the moment comes to harden, their hands hesitate. The collapse of authority is rarely loud. It is subtle. It begins in tone rather than action. People stop seeking permission and start seeking forgiveness. They stop informing and start assuming. They test silence instead of asking questions. These behaviors are not rebellious. They are diagnostic. They reveal that the leader's presence no longer exerts psychological gravity. Machiavelli understood gravity. He understood that leadership is not maintained through constant motion, but through constant weight. When the leader's weight disappears, others move freely. Nice leaders often respond to this shift by increasing communication. They believe the problem is misunderstanding. They schedule meetings, send messages, explain vision, clarify values. But explanation is not authority. Explanation is what you do when authority has already weakened. The more a leader explains, the more they reveal uncertainty. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. He would say that a ruler who must constantly justify themselves is already losing. Human psychology does not respond to fairness when survival or advancement is involved. It responds to hierarchy. This does not mean people want oppression. It means they want order. Order reduces anxiety. Order simplifies decision-making. Order creates predictability. The nice leader disrupts order by attempting to flatten hierarchy emotionally while still maintaining it structurally. This contradiction confuses the group. Are you in charge or are you one of us? Can you be seen, challenged, or must you be obeyed? Ambiguity answers these questions in favor of the challenger. In every group, there are individuals who sense power shifts before they are visible. They are attuned to tone, timing, hesitation. They feel when authority softens. These individuals do not need to be malicious. They may simply be ambitious. They step forward not to overthrow, but to fill what feels like a vacuum. The nice leader perceives this as initiative and rewards it, not realizing they are reinforcing a parallel power structure. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must control not only actions, but narratives. The nice leader loses narrative control because they allow others to define intent and outcome. They let people interpret decisions emotionally rather than strategically. Over time, the leader's image fractures. Some see them as kind but weak. Others see them as indecisive. Some see them as manipulable. Once fractured, authority cannot command unified response. There is also the issue of resentment. Nice leaders believe that by avoiding conflict, they avoid resentment. In reality, they accumulate it quietly within themselves. They absorb frustration, suppress anger, tolerate disrespect. This internal resentment eventually leaks out in unpredictable ways: a sudden outburst, a delayed punishment, a cold withdrawal. When this happens, it feels unjust to those on the receiving end because it arrives without warning. The leader appears emotionally unstable rather than firm. Machiavelli would argue that controlled severity early prevents emotional chaos later. Power requires emotional containment, the ability to feel without being driven. The nice leader often confuses empathy with emotional surrender. They feel what others feel and act accordingly. This makes them reactive rather than strategic. Machiavelli would insist that a ruler must understand emotions without being governed by them. Compassion must be deliberate, not reflexive. One of the most dangerous myths surrounding nice leadership is that people will reciprocate sacrifice. That if the leader gives more, works harder, cares deeper, others will rise to match it. Sometimes they do, briefly. But over time, sacrifice becomes expectation. Expectation becomes entitlement. Entitlement becomes exploitation. The nice leader is drained, not followed. Machiavelli understood that sacrifice must be invisible or rare. A ruler who constantly sacrifices lowers their perceived value. Humans do not protect what depletes itself willingly. Another hidden cost of niceness is decision paralysis. Because the nice leader wants to consider everyone's feelings, decisions become delayed. Delay creates uncertainty. Uncertainty breeds anxiety. Anxiety breeds politics. People begin to maneuver to protect themselves against unknown outcomes. Information is withheld. Alliances form. The environment becomes toxic not because the leader is cruel, but because they are slow. Machiavelli would say that speed is a form of power. Decisiveness communicates confidence even when the decision is imperfect. The nice leader also tends to overestimate the moral maturity of others. They believe people will restrain themselves out of fairness. Machiavelli observed the opposite. When rules are not enforced, people push further, not because they are evil, but because opportunity invites action. This is not a character flaw, it is a behavioral constant. Systems must be designed with this in mind. Niceness designs systems for angels and then blames humans for behaving like humans. Fear, when properly calibrated, simplifies behavior. It removes ambiguity. It clarifies stakes. The nice leader avoids fear entirely, not realizing that fear does not require hostility. It requires certainty. People fear losing status, AC. Cess, opportunity. These fears guide behavior more reliably than appeals to goodwill. Machiavelli argued that a ruler should be feared in a way that does not provoke hatred. This balance requires discipline and foresight. Nice leaders abandon fear altogether and are shocked when love evaporates. There is a moment, often late, when the nice leader realizes they are no longer being obeyed. This realization is devastating because it attacks their identity. They believed they were leading ethically. They believed goodness was strength. Now they are confronted with the reality that ethics without enforcement are fragile. Some respond by hardening abruptly. This rarely works. Authority cannot be installed suddenly. It must be cultivated early. Late severity feels illegitimate. Others retreat. They disengage emotionally. They become passive. They let the system run itself while maintaining the appearance of leadership. This is the final stage. Power has fully migrated elsewhere. The leader remains as a symbol, a memory, a cautionary tale. Machiavelli would see this as the cost of refusing to confront uncomfortable truths early. The world remembers strong leaders as dangerous, even when they preserve order. It remembers nice leaders as well-intentioned failures. History is not kind to those who lose control, not because they were immoral, but because they were ineffective. Machiavelli wrote for those who wanted to survive power, not feel good about losing it. There is also a deeper psychological reason nice leaders fail. They externalize conflict. They believe conflict is bad rather than inevitable. Machiavelli understood conflict as a natural force that must be managed, not eliminated. By suppressing conflict, the nice leader drives it underground, where it becomes more destructive. Open confrontation under authority is healthier than silent resistance under politeness. Leadership demands the capacity to disappoint, to say no, to enforce boundaries without apology. The nice leader apologizes for authority. They soften commands with explanations. They frame decisions as requests. Language matters. When authority speaks like a peer, it is treated like one. Machiavelli paid close attention to language because language reveals power relations. Commands dressed as questions weaken the speaker. Another illusion is that respect and affection are interchangeable. They are not. Affection is emotional. Respect is cognitive. Respect arises when people believe you control outcomes. Nice leaders seek affection because it feels human. Respect feels distant, cold, but distance is necessary. Without distance, authority collapses into familiarity. Familiarity breeds contempt. This is not cruelty. It is psychology. Machiavelli believed that a ruler must be willing to act immorally when morality threatens survival. This does not mean abandoning values. It means prioritizing outcomes over purity. Nice leaders prioritize purity. They would rather lose ethically than win uncomfortably. This choice feels noble but produces suffering on a larger scale. Systems fail. People are harmed. Order collapses. The leader remains morally intact while the world around them burns. Machiavelli would call this irresponsibility. Every leader eventually faces a test that reveals who they are: a betrayal, a crisis, a resource shortage, a rebellion. Nice leaders hope these moments will never come. Machiavelli assumed they always would. He prepared for them mentally. Those who prepare survive. Those who hope do not. Power is not evil. It is neutral. It amplifies intent. When good people avoid power, power does not disappear. It flows to those willing to wield it. The nice leader's failure creates space for harsher figures. This is the ultimate irony. By refusing to exercise controlled strength, the nice leader invites uncontrolled strength to replace them. This is the third forbidden lesson. Leadership without the willingness to enforce is abdication disguised as virtue. Niceness without teeth is not kindness. It is surrender, and surrender does not preserve goodness. It exposes it. Machiavelli would not comfort the fallen nice leader. He would not console them with intentions. He would point to outcomes and say this was predictable. Not because humans are wicked, but because power follows laws. Break those laws, and power punishes without mercy. By this stage, the listener begins to feel the weight of this truth, not as theory, but as recognition. Faces appear. Situations resurface, moments where firmness was avoided, where niceness was chosen, where authority slipped quietly away. Machiavelli's voice grows clearer here, colder, more precise. He is not asking for cruelty. He is asking for courage. The courage to see humans as they are, the courage to bear the discomfort of command, the courage to be misunderstood. And this is where the final descent begins, where the lesson turns inward, where the question is no longer about leaders in history or organizations, but about the listener themselves, about what they would do when the moment comes to choose between being liked and being effective, between being nice and being powerful, between comfort and control. Because the world does not wait for you to decide. Power moves regardless, and if you do not take responsibility for it, someone else always will. The final truth Machiavelli would place before you is the most uncomfortable of all, because it removes every remaining excuse. If you lose power while insisting on being nice, it is not because the world betrayed you. It is because you chose comfort over responsibility. Leadership is not granted to those with the cleanest hands, to those willing to carry the weight others avoid. And weight, once dropped, does not return gently. By this stage, the nice leader has usually rewritten their story. They tell themselves they were too ethical for the system, too kind for the environment, too principled for the game. This narrative protects the ego, but it poisons growth. Machiavelli would dismantle it without hesitation. He would say that ethics that cannot survive reality are not ethics at all. They are decoration. Morality that collapses under pressure is not moral superiority. It is fragility disguised as virtue. The world does not reward goodness, it rewards effectiveness. Goodness is respected only when it is backed by the ability to punish betrayal and enforce order. Without that backing, goodness becomes a liability. It invites exploitation. It attracts those who see boundaries as optional and authority as negotiable. The nice leader becomes a resource to be consumed rather than a force to be aligned with. There is a brutal clarity in accepting this. Once you see it, you can no longer pretend that being liked is leadership, that empathy alone is strength, that harmony replaces hierarchy. You begin to understand why those who rise to power rarely resemble the ideals preached in books or speeches. Not because power corrupts them, but because power filters out those unwilling to bear its cost. Machiavelli understood that leadership is an unnatural position. It demands acting against instinct. Humans instinctively want to belong, to be approved, to be seen as good. Leadership demands the opposite. It demands separation, judgment, and the willingness to be resented. Nice leaders try to reconcile leadership with belonging. They want to command without distance. They want authority without friction. They want obedience without fear. This is fantasy. The leader who survives is the one who acts. PTs that discomfort is the price of order, that clarity is more compassionate than softness, that a single decisive act early can prevent years of silent decay. Machiavelli believed that strength, when exercised wisely, creates more stability and less suffering than weakness dressed as kindness. Weakness multiplies conflict because it refuses to contain it. By now, the illusion should be gone. You should see that niceness is not neutral. It is a choice, a strategy, one that trades short-term emotional comfort for long-term loss of control. The world does not punish nice leaders immediately. It lets them believe they are succeeding while quietly reorganizing around them. Then, when pressure arrives, it reveals the truth brutally and without apology. If you are honest with yourself, you already know this. You have seen it in workplaces, in politics, in families, in friendships. The one who avoids conflict loses influence. The one who cannot enforce boundaries is eventually ignored. The one who fears being disliked becomes irrelevant. These are not moral judgments, they are psychological laws. Machiavelli would now turn his gaze directly on you, not as a philosopher, but as a mirror. He would not ask whether you are good, he would ask whether you are effective. He would not care about your intentions. He would examine your outcomes. He would not sympathize with your discomfort. He would measure your control. The most dangerous moment in leadership is not opposition, it is self-deception. The belief that you are different from those who failed before you because your heart is better. History is full of leaders with good hearts buried beneath the ruins of their systems. The world does not bend for moral purity. It bends for force guided by intelligence. This does not mean abandoning humanity. It means protecting it through structure. It means understanding that order is fragile and must be defended, that people feel safer under firm leadership than under endless negotiation. That clarity, even when harsh, is kinder than ambiguity that breeds anxiety and conflict. If you want to lead, truly lead, You must accept that you will be misunderstood, that some will resent you, that you will be accused of being cold, harsh, or unkind. These accusations are the tax of authority. Nice leaders refuse to pay it. They outsource the cost to the system, and the system eventually collapses. Machiavelli would say this is the final choice. You can be liked or you can be obeyed. You can preserve your self-image or you can preserve order. You can avoid discomfort now or you can endure catastrophe later. There is no third option. Balance comes only after power is secured, never before. Strength does not mean cruelty. It means certainty. It means acting when action is required, not when it is comfortable. It means setting boundaries and enforcing them without apology. It means understanding that fear, properly calibrated, stabilizes behavior far more reliably than hope. If you continue to cling to niceness as your primary tool, the outcome is already written. You will be praised and then replaced, respected privately and ignored publicly, remembered as kind and ineffective. Machiavelli would consider this a failure not of character, but of courage. The world does not need more nice leaders. It needs leaders who understand human nature and are willing to act accordingly. Leaders who can be compassionate without being weak, generous without being manipulable, calm without being passive, humane without being naive. This knowledge is not comfortable. It strips away illusions. It forces responsibility inward. Once you see it, you can unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you are accountable for what you do next. So do not ask whether this truth feels good. Ask whether it is real. Do not ask whether it aligns with how you wish the world worked. Ask whether it explains how power actually moves. And when you recognize that it does, do not retreat back into the safety of niceness. Harden your clarity, sharpen your boundaries. Learn to enforce without cruelty and decide without apology. Accept the loneliness of authority and the weight of command. Choose effectiveness over approval. Choose order over comfort. Choose responsibility over illusion. Because if you do not, someone else will, and they will not be nice about it.